Harold, welcome.
What's up, everybody? Hi.
Oh my gosh, this crowd is going crazy for you.
They're very nice. They're very kind. Look at that. You guys are
Harold,
really kind. Thank you. Thank you.
you are a very recognizable guy.
Kind of. Well, my face is.
You've only been part of some of the biggest television series in history.
Yeah, some good ones.
Little one called Oz, little one called Lost.
That's right.
Look at everyone is so thrilled.
You guys are very nice. That's very kind. How much did they pay you to be that excited? To love my.
And if you love him on TV and you want to actually be in the same room with him while he's making magic, come and see The Cherry Orchard on Broadway.
Yeah.
Brilliant performance,
Thank you.
my friends.
That's very kind.
The one thing that I've been struggling with is how to pronounce your character's name.
His name is Lepakin.
That's his last name,
That's
right?
his last
What's
name.
the full name?
His name is Yermolai Alexeyevich Lepakin.
Right. I'm not going to try to say
But you can't, they're classic names for the play, and they're classic Russian names. And so
Right.
we couldn't change it. It'd be like doing Romeo and Juliet and with like Mary and Joe. You can't change it, so we kept the Russian names. So
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Romeo and Juliet because what The Cherry Orchard has in common with the Romeo and Juliet that you did back in the day with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes is that it takes this classic literature and turns it into a really understandable, relatable, sort of modern feeling production that was on film. And you didn't actually change the lines, just the delivery of the lines.
Exactly.
In this, because it was in Russian and had to be translated, Stephen Karam, who wrote the Tony-winning play The Humans, did the new translation of the Chekhov of The Cherry Orchard, and it really feels so modern. This is a show I've seen several times and studied in college and have read, and I've never connected with it the way that I connected with this performance, this production.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Like when they offered it to me, I went, The Cherry Orchard, this is going to be great. And I thought it was, it's what I read in college and stuff like that. And then I read Stephen Karam's adaptation, and it was so relatable. And Simon Godwin came in and really created a community, because it really is about a community of people. And I couldn't be happier about like how relatable it is and how accessible it is for audiences in America right now. Really, it's an amazing thing. So.
Well, I think that one struggle that classic literature, both on stage and on the page, has sometimes for current audiences is that it feels very stuffy.
Right.
And this does not feel stuffy.
Right.
And also, I understood the play from a different perspective, and your character plays a big part in that. I've always thought of The Cherry Orchard as the story of an aristocratic woman and her family who are in denial about the loss of their property.
Yeah.
I saw this production as the story of the child of a former slave who grows up and gets to purchase the property on which his own family was owned.
Well, that is the story in it.
That's right.
That is the story in it.
But that I saw before as sort of a subplot, and your portrayal of the character whose name I can't pronounce.
Lepakin. We'll just keep saying it. I'll just keep saying it for you.
Is it Lepakin?
Lepakin.
Lepakin. Okay,
Yes.
got it. Okay, so your portrayal of Lepakin, I think, makes that the primary story of the show.
Really?
And that could just be because your performance is so fantastic and just so compelling. You open the show sitting on the stage.
Right.
And then you kind of fade into the background a little bit, and then in Act 2, you come back with this just incredible monologue, and there's like a little choreographed piece, there's a fight scene. I mean,
It's a lot.
really, I can't say enough about your performance in this production.
Well, that's very kind.
I can't wait.
I don't know that it's not I don't think it's our intent to make that the main story. I think it really is the story of this aristocratic
Well, sure,
family.
I mean, that's still there, but I just had never connected with your character the way that I did seeing you portray it in this new adaptation.
I got you. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. That means
I also want to talk about your incredible co-stars, because this cast is a who's who of theater and Hollywood talent.
Right.
You have Joel Grey, you have Diane Lane, you have...
Every dude I know is like, could you just tell Diane I love her? Like every guy I know, from my father to like everybody I know.
You're like, Diane, my dad loves you.
My dad loves you too.
Hey, my college roommate loves you. Hey, my the guy who the doorman loves you.
Exactly. I just got out of a taxi. The dude, he loves you. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
You know, you have how do you pronounce
Jevinson?
Tavi Jevinson? I will say Gevinson by accident. Tavi Jevinson and Celia Keenan-Bolger and John Glover. I mean,
it's not Chuck Cooper. It just doesn't.
Oh my gosh, Chuck Cooper is so funny.
Isn't he funny?
I love him so much. Yeah. So if you hadn't gotten the idea yet, The Cherry Orchard is amazing, and Harold is incredible in it, and just totally worth going. I'm going to go back and see it a second time.
Yeah, if you guys get a chance, you really should come by. It really is. It feels profound to me, and it's not because I'm in it. It feels really it feels transformative. It's a really interesting thing, and especially in our country right now. In the show, they really are struggling with, who they're going to be. There's the old way of life, and then there's this new way of life, and they're really struggling, in deciding who they're going to be. And I think that's really pertinent right now in our country as we're struggling with who we're going to be or who we're going to elect. Or I don't mean to get heavy. Never mind.
Well, there are some heavy themes in this show, and it is different than going to a song and dance light musical that distracts you from the issues of the world. This really reminds you of them.
But not in a terrible way. Not like
No.
just sitting there like, oh my God.
No, it manages to entertain you. And at the beginning of the second act, there's this whole masquerade scene with magic tricks and musical chairs. And
that normally isn't in the play. Like Simon did that. He
it's
decided
beautiful.
instead of having it behind stage to put it in front of the stage. And so there's a crazy party at the very beginning. It's really fun.
And the costumes are really fun, too.
Ridiculous.
Which brings me to the overall design of the show. The orchard itself is represented by these sort of abstract, what do you call them? Mobiles, that hang from the ceiling, that definitely give the illusion of a tree with blossoms, but are done in a really modern, beautiful way. The one question I have about the design is about the furniture.
Right.
The stage itself is built to actually look like the cross-section of a tree, but there's beds and chairs that are so tiny.
Right, so it opens up and it takes place in a nursery. The very first scene takes place in a nursery, and they decided to actually put the furniture that you would put for children in the nursery, so that it's a bit ironic and that these adults are sitting here in this nursery, sort of reliving their past and stuff. And so it's just a little bit of irony for the audience, and it's what Chekhov would have, I think, done, because he thinks of the play as a comedy, as ironic and a comedy, and many people don't. But so we added those elements to make it feel just interesting and funny, and so
it definitely made me sit up and
what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. which I love. I need theater to make me want to be like, oh, what's that about? And make the wheels turn in my head a little bit.
Awesome.
I also want to just congratulate you again on encompassing and embodying this role in a way that didn't make me think about any of your TV roles.
Oh, didn't?
No. I mean, I was seeing you as this character. Thank you. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, is he going to yell out for Walt in a second?
Thank God, right?
I imagine that you still get the references to Michael from Lost a lot. Is that your most recognizable character, or do you find that Oz was more, or The Matrix? Oh, we've got some Oz fans in the house.
I think it goes back and forth, and on social media, more Walt, because that's from around the world.
Do people think your character was Walt?
No, I don't. They just, literally, I can make a comment about anything, and then underneath there's 4 people who go, Walt! You know what I mean? There was a car accident in New York. Walt! And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So on social media, I know. So social media, it is, but it kind of just depends on where I am. In New York City, for sure, Oz comes up a lot because we shot it here.
Right.
And it was just, that's where we. Anyway, we shot
Are
it
there
here.
still people who are surprised that you're not actually wheelchair bound?
Oddly enough, that still comes up. Like, oh man, I thought you were in a wheelchair. Did you now? So all the other stuff, you thought, what, I had prosthetics? Oh, look, he's Michael. With
Well,
prosthetics.
everyone has their favorite show. And I think you do that thing where you embody that character so well, people assume it's who you really
Think
are.
it's like, yeah, and I did this movie called The Best Man, and in the first one, right, I wasn't trying to get that, but yeah. But in the first one, the guy is really henpecked, well, he's in the second one too, but he is really at the beck and call of his girlfriend, and people would see me in the street and honestly be sorry for me, like, oh, hey, Harold, how are you? And I'm like, no, that's not, I was acting, I'm not, never mind.
Oh.
You can see they feel sorry for me.
Can you tell the story about when you were 30 and you auditioned for a role that was 17?
Oh,
and they told
you did
you,
do research.
and they told you just be yourself?
Yes. So one of my first movies was a movie called Smoke, and it's the first leading role I got. And the character was 17, but I was 30 at the time. But I have a baby face, so a young face. And I went in and I auditioned, and they really liked it. And the director was like, whatever you do, don't go out and get a drama coach. And like, I'm already trained as an actor. I mean, I've been in school, I've trained, I've done this whole thing. Just come back and be yourself. And I was like, cool. Okay. Maybe they didn't like what I was doing. I thought that. And so first day of rehearsal, I came as myself, and you see them all look at me and go like, hey, what are you doing? And I said, oh, wait, I'm sorry. You told me to be myself, right? That's what you just told me to do that, right? They're like, no, I mean, you're yourself who was in the audition. I was like, oh, that's a character, dude. I worked on that. I worked really hard on that. I can do that, but you told me to be myself. So it was really, they were panicked. And then they asked me, like, how old are you again? I was like, 30. And then they really got panicked.
Because hadn't they asked you in the audition, like, where you went to school? And you just chose to only tell them the high school you went to?
Yeah. So where'd you go to school? Erasmus Hall. And I did. That's where I went to school.
Oh, okay. So this is a great segue. I love the story of sort of your coming up in the world and how badly you wanted to get to the point of the entertainment industry success. So here's what I learned about you in my research.
All right.
I learned that you wanted to go to performing arts school, but you didn't get in, so you chose a high school that had a performing arts department. I heard that you wanted to be in the jazz band, but you weren't good enough, so you joined the orchestra.
Yes.
I heard that you auditioned for a scholarship that you would have gotten, but you missed the deadline, so you took out loans and went to that school anyway. And then I learned that you came to New York and you auditioned for the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, didn't get in, so you became a security guard at the Capizio.
You're talking to my dad? You called my father.
No, but these are all stories. These are all opportunities where you could have been knocked down and been like, well, it wasn't meant to be. The one, I like have goosebumps talking about it. The one where you wanted to be in the biggest dance company in the world, and you were a trained dancer at that point, but instead, you got a job working as a security guard for a dance shoe store. Right. So you were still in the world, and you kept working on it, and eventually you made it into the Ailey Company. Oh my gosh!
Well, I didn't get into the Ailey Company, so I got
into the Ailey school?
Yes, I got into school. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? It's still a pretty good story. I just think that series of potential setbacks that you turned into more motivation is the most pure demonstration of growth mindset I've ever seen. And it just, like, I cannot admire you more for continuing to do that over and over and over again.
I gotta be honest, I've never even thought about it like that. You're kind of blowing my own mind. Like I was there and I hadn't thought about it like that. But yeah, that's a lot of setbacks. And I guess I was young enough and foolish enough to believe, nah, I can still do it no matter what. I just kept thinking like, no, I can do it though, right? I can do it. This is hard. It's not impossible, right? And so I just kept going.
And you did it.
Yeah. So yeah.
And here you are on Broadway.
With you guys.
On Broadway and with all of these incredible credits. And by the way, I also want to talk about your on-camera stuff that's going on right now. Right. There's this incredible Amazon series called Goliath that stars Billy Bob Thornton, and you play a judge in that series. In your first episode, it looks like it's just going to be sort of a guest star, almost cameo appearance, you know, like the way that a judge will appear on Law and Order or something. And you're like, oh, look at that person I recognize playing the judge. Right. But very soon it becomes clear that there's a whole deep storyline.
Yeah. It's a really good show. And it's written by David E. Kelley and Jonathan Shapiro, who really know how to write law stuff. And so it's really good. And William Hurt is in it as well, and
you don't even recognize him because half of he's made up to look like half of his face has been burned off.
Exactly. And my first movie, Smoke, is the movie I did with William Hurt, and this is the first time we've gotten back together in like 20 years. It was really interesting to work with him again.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
So, really cool.
What else is going on for you right now? As if that wasn't enough.
On Audience TV, there's a show that's so well written called Full Circle. Mm-hmm. And Full Circle is sort of done like the play La Ronde. So each episode is about 2 different characters, and it sort of moves through these 10 different characters. And it takes place around a presidential election. Anyway, if you get a chance to see it, it's called Full Circle Miami. Also spectacular, really, really well written. I'm not saying I'm spectacular. I'm saying the writing.
I have no doubt that you're
really,
spectacular.
Really this guy, Jorge Zamacona.
And where can we see that?
On Audience TV. If you have Direct TV or something like that, you can see it on Audience. It's called Full Circle Miami. So that's happening too. So yeah. That's
awesome.
It. Yeah. And then next year we have Claws coming up with Niecy Nash, and that's going to be really fantastic. So,
cool.
Niecy Nash is awesome. Yeah, she is awesome. So yeah, that's gonna be really good.
Are you singing at all these days?
Man, I wish I was.
You know that he was in Dreamgirls?
But I was a dancer. But yeah, no, I wish I was. A couple of years ago, longer than a couple of years ago, we started recording this album. It was really fun, but you gotta have time to go on the road and promote it and do that stuff. But I got kids. I gotta work, man.
Your kids are adorable, by the way.
Thank you.
Today is Halloween, and I got to meet Harold's kids,
Yes.
and they are dressed as the leads from Rent, which, of course, I flipped out about. Your 3-year-old is dressed as Mark.
Is Mark, I know.
And your 8-year-old is dressed as Mimi.
So I got dressed as a drug-addicted girl who dances on the pole. I'm doing so good.
You know what? I think more kids getting exposed to more musical theater can only lead to good things.
Yeah, that's true. No, they're really happy to do it, and they look amazing. So.
Are you a musical theater junkie? Like, what are your favorite shows? What did you grow up on?
Theater junkie. When I went to Shenandoah to college, as you mentioned, I was a musical theater major, and so that's what we did, study musicals. I remember there's this musical with Lucy Arnaz and. I can't think of his name, called They're Playing Our Song. Mm-hmm. I used to sing over and over.
Yeah, and Robert Klein.
Robert Klein.
Yeah.
Thank you. I almost messed it up. Robert Klein, who I met recently, and I wanted to sing that to him. I really did.
He would have loved it.
But it was like me people doing the Walt thing to me. I just couldn't.
I've met Robert Klein many times. I think he would have loved it. So
really?
Next time you see him.
Next time I can start, you play a C. You got to see. So yes, I do love musicals. And West Side Story was one of my favorite musicals. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do that forever. I'll never.
Did you bring any elements of West Side Story into the Romeo and Juliet that you guys did? I mean, I feel like there was, West Side Story is all about sort of gang activity and stuff, and based on the Romeo and Juliet story. Right. And I felt like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet had the most in common with West Side Story.
West Side Story, yeah.
Than any other Romeo and Juliet I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mercutio and what's the character's name in West Side Story?
Bernardo?
Not Bernardo. The little one who's a jet. You know who I'm talking about.
I do, but you're making me look
Amber
like a...
Tamblin's dad, Russ Tamblyn. I just can't think of the character's name, but those characters have a lot in common, and they're the ones who eventually, take the blade for their Romeos. And so, yeah, I feel like I thought about it a lot, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know if I brought anything into it, but I certainly thought about it, and I was really happy to get to play that.
Have you seen any shows that are currently running on Broadway, or are you too busy with your own schedule?
While I was in rehearsal, I got to see Hamilton, and that's what I was really happy to go see Hamilton, and mind blown. Like it was everything that everybody had said. So that's the only thing I've gotten to see.
What's your dark day right now from Cherry
Mondays.
Orchard? Mondays. Oh,
what can I go see?
Chicago.
Okay. I've seen Chicago like 3 times already, so maybe...
Well, I think that's the only one, at least this week, running on Mondays. Are you impressed that I know that? I'm kind of impressed that
You're the Broadway girl. Yes, of course you know that.
Well, I'm so thrilled about the Cherry Orchard. I'm especially thrilled about your performance, and it's been a real thrill to have you here and get to connect with you in this way. We've got time for a couple questions from the audience if you're up for it.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's have some questions. Hi. Thank you for having me. You just popped up there. Hi.
Actually, true life, I was Maureen from Rent when I was 13.
What?
Yeah, so I like really support your kids for Halloween, not like
Thank
every
you.
day in everyday life.
Got it.
But I was wondering, do you find that acting for the camera and acting on stage are kind of different art forms, and what do you like about both?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think that they're different art forms. I think they're the same art form, but they have different technical needs. You know, when you're performing in front of a camera, you have to really be aware of where that camera is in relationship to who you're talking to and how you're talking to. And and anytime you're acting, you're finding out who the character is so that you can embody it and be that person, like that your movements are what you think that person would do. And on film, it's really subtle. It's much more subtle, the things that you're doing, because once it's projected on a large screen, you know, you can't be moving around and doing like, so it's very subtle. And in theater, again, you're trying to find the way to embody the character, but then how to make all of their everything that they do large enough so that everyone in the theater can see it. And so you have to find a way to motivate yourself to be very specific about the way you talk, how you talk. It all is a little bit, it's a little more urgent, if that makes sense, when you're in theater. So I don't think they're different art forms. I think they're the same. They're just a different skill set. Yeah, it was a good question, though.
Hey.
Hey, man.
Yeah, you guys mentioned Romeo and Juliet, which is one of my favorite movies.
Awesome.
How was it like working with Baz Luhrmann on that film?
It was surreal. That's how it was. We were in Mexico City. It was before Leo was a huge star, but he was still a big enough star, and I hadn't been around like a sex symbol kind of star before. So like he would walk into rooms, and this is no joke, women would faint. And so it's always like, oh, is she all right? Like, so that was part of it was surreal. And then we were getting to do this Shakespeare in a way that, you know, I had never seen Shakespeare, and like Baz asked me to bring all of my Brooklyn to perform this Shakespeare, which I had never been asked to do before. So it was really, really kind of fascinating. In fact, in one thing, I was doing in my head, I was doing this song from Biggie just before the scene starts, and I'm going, and I do this thing so I can start the scene, and it's in the movie. It's in the film, so if you see us on the beach, it's like Biggie and Shakespeare in one thing. I don't know, but I like it. And so the whole thing was really, really, yeah, because I'm like, where the cash at? It's from Biggie's early album, so it's in the movie. So yeah, Biggie and Shakespeare, I like it. So it's cool. Surreal.
We don't have a ton of time left, but you mentioned like hanging around Leo and his like when women were fainting. Do you have a good Jack Nicholson story, right? About like seeing what real stardom was about?
It's a big story, but
can you tell it in a couple
I'll tell
of
it
sentences?
really quickly. Yeah. So I was doing this movie, me and Stephen Dorff and J-Lo before she was really big, and Stephen Dorff had been sort of a Hollywood kid, and he knew all these people, and so he took me to a party in Miami, and it was kind of a crowded party. There were a lot of people, and you can see in Miami who's the star and who isn't. So like you walk into a club, and nobody's talking to me, but they're all talking to Steven. So it's like, oh, okay, it's really clear who's what. So we go into this little room in the back, the VIP room, and it starts to get crowded, and then the crowd parts, and he goes, oh, Steven goes, Jack must be here. And so in walks Johnny Depp, and it's not Jack. It's like, oh, hey, Johnny Depp, we talk, and we're kind of hanging out. Still, no one's talking to me. They're talking to Johnny Depp and Stephen Dorff. Then it gets really, 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 really crowded. And then like the Red Sea, literally, the thing parts, and it is Jack. And he walks in, and Stephen goes, Jack, this is Harold. Harold, this is Jack. He's playing Henry. And Jack goes, hey, Henry. And he shakes my hand. From that moment on, they were like girls on my head, like, hey, where's the party? How you doing? What are you guys doing next? I was just overwhelmed. It was amazing. Yeah, like star power like that is crazy.
And now You're that guy.
No, I'm not that guy. No.
We've got time for one more question.
Got it.
Hey, man.
Hey,
I'm
you got
loving-
Snoopy.
Oh,
Ah.
Snoopy is representing today.
Right on.
So I love all the behind-the-scenes stories you've been sharing. What are a couple of audition horror stories that you might have in your back pocket that might have caught you off guard when you entered a room and were maybe able to overcome certain obstacles in that sort of regard?
You know, I have two that are really, really big. I'll try to make them really, really quick, and I won't mention any names because they're kind of big, but they're assholes. So one, I come in to audition for a thing that's a big action thing, and it's a scene, and I walk in and I see the casting director, and she goes, "Hi, Harold," and I go, I don't know why she's looking like that. I go, "Oh, hey." And she goes, "Okay, you can start reading." And like at the table just down the way, somebody's going like, "No, but why can't I sit on the aisle? I want to sit on the aisle." Go ahead, man, go. Yeah, give me an aisle seat. And I look at the casting director like, am I auditioning now? And she goes, "Yes, just go ahead." And I go, "Nah, I'm going." She goes, please stay." And literally, the dude stays on the phone making his reservation while I'm doing my audition, and then goes, "Yo, hey, thanks, that was really good." And then keeps going. It's like, I don't know. And yeah, and I had another one where a guy was reading newspaper. "Oh, hey, Harold, go ahead, go knock yourself out." And went back to his newspaper, and then it was over. "Thanks a lot." And so it's really clear. I was like, "Oh, so you've hired somebody and you're just jerking me off." And you're not even jerking me off because this sucks. Like, not even jerking me off because this is horrible.
I'm assuming that you did not end up booking those parts.
No, and I don't
But,
work with either of those guys.
It sounds like you kept going into audition
Yeah, you keep
rooms
going,
and kept
yeah,
doing
yeah.
what you needed to do, and you
Just do what
impressed
you
some
do.
people,
Yeah.
and you showed the skills that you worked so hard to achieve, and you showed that hard work really pays off, man.
It does.
So thank you for being an inspiration and for creating such great work, both on camera and, of course, on stage in the Cherry Orchard.
Thank you for this forum and this interview. This has been amazing. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks. Thanks for being here.
Thank you guys. Thank you all.